Hello friends, let us now learn some important points about sleep apnea. Sleep apnea. Apnea is have no breathing at all is called as apnea. That is, there is no movement of air at the level of nose and the mouth. That is apnea. This sleep apnea can be divided into three types. One, we have obstructive sleep apnea. Then this obstructive sleep apnea is due to the obstruction which can be present either at the nose, nasopharynx, oral cavity, oropharynx, base of the tongue or larynx. That is, any site in the upper respiratory tract can result in obstructive sleep apnea. Then we have central apnea. Central apnea is, here there is no obstruction, that is, airways are patent, there is no obstruction. But the problem in this central apnea is, here the problem is in the brain, because brain has to send the signals to the muscles for the apnea, for taking respiration. Now this signals from the brain to the muscle through medullary respiratory centers is not functioning properly. That is central sleep apnea. Then we have mixed sleep apnea. Mixed sleep apnea is if combination of obstructive with central sleep apnea is called as mixed sleep apnea. Then if you see the pathophysiology of sleep apnea, first there is apnea is present during the sleep. Whenever there is apnea, there is no proper intake of oxygen, so there is hypoxia and increased carbon dioxide or retention of carbon dioxide will occur. These will result in, whenever there is hypoxia, there will be pulmonary vasoconstriction occurs. This pulmonary vasoconstriction, if it prolongs for longer period of time, it causes pulmonary hypertension, which will result in congestive heart failure. And also this pulmonary constriction can also result in cardiac hypoxia also, because there is decreased oxygen intake which can cause decreased oxygen to the heart also. Both these will result in left heart failure and cardiac arrhythmias. This left heart failure and cardiac arrhythmias, both these will result in sudden death. Right? So this is about sleep apnea pathophysiology. Now, what about the physiology of? Normally, an adult male will sleep for 7 to 8 hours. This sleep will exist in two phases. One, we have non-REM sleep, and second, we have REM sleep. The two phases occur semi-regular cycles. That means each cycle will last for 90 to 120 minutes. This occurs in semi-regular cycle, where each cycle of sleep will last for 90 to 120 minutes. Like that, we have 3 or 4 cycles of sleep. Right? We do not need to know the stages of sleep in this lesson, because we are going to learn that in psychiatry anyways. Now, if you see the clinical features of sleep apnea, here in sleep apnea there will be excess. We can use a score known as Epworth score. So, for excessive daytime sleepiness, we have Epworth sleeping scale is present. With the help of this Epworth sleepiness scale, we can find the excessive daytime sleepiness, fatigue, irritability. Along with that, morning headaches can be seen, memory loss and impotence are seen in the patients with sleep apnea. So, on examination, you will have to find the body mass index of these patients, and most commonly the patients with sleep apnea are obese patients, and if they are obese we will have to reduce the weight. If the BMI is 18.5 to 24.9, they are normal. If the BMI is 25 to 29.9 or 29.9, it is overweight. If the BMI is 30, more than 30, then we call them as obese. Okay, that is for BMI. Then we should also check the collar size of these individuals. In the collar size, we will have to measure the neck circumference. Collar size is nothing but neck circumference, which you will measure at the level of cricothyroid membrane. At the level of cricothyroid membrane, you will measure the neck circumference is measured. Okay, that is collar size. If this neck circumference, it should not be more than 42. It should not be more than 42 centimeters in male, and it should not be more than 37.5 centimeters in female. One, you should check for body mass index. Second, you should check for collar size. Collar size should not be more than 42 centimeters in male and 37.5 centimeters in female. Then you will have to do complete head and neck examination should be done for any you will have to see for any tonsillar hypertrophy, retrograthia, macroglossia, that is large tongue, enlarged soft palate and uvula, base of tongue tumors, septal deviation, nasal polyps, turbinate hypertrophy, nasal valve collapse, and you should also examine the nasopharynx and the larynx. Then we should check for Muller's maneuver. In Muller's maneuver should be done. Here you will pass a flexible endoscope. You will pass a flexible endoscope through the nose and ask the patient to inspire vigorously with nose and mouth completely closed. Then you should look for collapse of soft tissues at the base of the tongue. This is Muller's maneuver can also be done. You should do other systemic examination should be done. Then for any craniofacial anomalies, you should do cephalometric radiographs should be done to assess if there are any craniofacial anomalies if we suspect. But among all these studies, the gold standard is gold standard is we have polysomnography is the gold standard for obstructive sleep apnea. This polysomnography will measure the along with in the polysomnography we measure electroencephalogram, electrocardiogram for heart rate and rhythms, electrooculogram for rolling eye movements, electromyography for submental and tibialis anterior muscle. Then we will also measure pulse oximetry to measure the oxygen saturation, and nasal and oral airflow for episodes of apnea and hypopnea. We will see the BP and also esophageal pressure. Though this esophageal pressure is not done in all the laboratories, but all the others are done for polysomnography. So in polysomnography we measure electroencephalogram for REM and NREM sleep, ECG for heart rate and rhythm, pulse oximetry for SpO2, electromyography for submental and tibialis anterior muscle, electrooculography for rolling eye movements, nasal and airflow, oral airflow for episodes of apnea and hypopnea, blood pressure and esophageal pressure are also measured. Then there is one more type of polysomnography, which is split type polysomnography. In this split type polysomnography, first part of the night, first half of the night, we do normal or usual polysomnography is done, whereas in the second half of the night we use the second half for titration of pressures for continuous airway positive pressure. Continuous positive airway pressure, for that we will titrate the pressures. This split night polysomnography is not recommended. Actually, this is split night polysomnography has been introduced, but nowadays it is not recommended because this split night polysomnography can miss some episodes of apnea. See, we are doing this polysomnography mainly to record the apnea, hypopnea episodes along with REM and NREM sleep changes. But if you see, the apnea or hypopnea episodes are more common in the second half of night. So if we do not do the polysomnography in the second half of night, we will miss the apnea and hypopnea episodes, and as a result this is not recommended. Nowadays we do this titration of continuous positive airway pressure is done in second night rather than on the second half of night. That is, nowadays we do all these are done on the first. See, this is not done nowadays. This second half is not done in the first day. First night we do normal polysomnography, and in the second night we do this titration of continuous positive airway pressure is done. Now, treatment is first and foremost lifestyle changes. If the patient drinks alcohol, we will have to ask the person to avoid alcohol. If the patient does smoking or uses some sedatives and hypnotics over the counter, we should ask the person to stop them. Then positional therapy. Ask the person to sleep on the side rather than on the back or supine position, because supine position will induce more obstructive apnea. So we should ask the person to sleep on side. Then we can give intraoral devices. These intraoral devices alter the position of the mandible and tongue and help in opening of airway. These intraoral devices include mandible advancement device. This will keep the mandible forward, while tongue retaining device will keep the tongue backward. So in both these conditions, will keep the tongue in anterior position. See, mandible advancement device will keep the mandible forward, and tongue retaining device will keep the tongue in anterior position, because when the tongue falls back during sleep, then it can obstruct the airway, thus resulting in obstructive sleep apnea. So to prevent that, we use tongue retaining device, which prevents the backfall of the tongue, and mandible advancement device can also be used. So these are the, if you see, these pictures show the mandible advancement device. These are mandible advancement device which will keep the mandible forward position, whereas these both are tongue retaining device. So in this device we put the tongue, so that tongue is prevented from falling back. This is tongue retaining device, right? Next, along with this, we can also use CPAP, that is continuous positive airway pressure, can also be given. It provides pneumatic splint to the airway. It gives a positive airway pressure to open the airway in the sleep. It is generally kept at 5 to 20 centimeters of water. But 40% of the patients find it difficult to use this machine. Especially this device is difficult to carry when traveling, and thus they do not use it. So if CPAP is not tolerated, if the patient cannot tolerate CPAP, then we have something called as BiPAP, which is bi-level positive airway pressure. This is bi-level positive airway pressure, that is BiPAP device is used. It delivers positive pressure at two fixed intervals. It is BiPAP, so it delivers positive pressure at two intervals, that is at inspiration and the other at expiratory pressure. That means it delivers the airway, it delivers positive pressure at high inspiratory pressure and one more positive pressure at lower expiratory pressure. That means it delivers positive pressure at high inspiratory and low expiratory pressure. Nowadays we have one more device which is called as auto titrating positive airway pressure is also available, which continuously adjusts the pressure, right? So this is the picture of continuous positive airway pressure giving to the person. This is the same continuous airway positive pressure. It has a device, mask and a pipe which is connecting the mask and the device, and this will generate the positive pressures as set by the doctors. So this is the BiPAP machine. You do not need to know them, but remember that all of them almost look alike, but you should just remember that these are the machines which can be used for giving positive pressure airway, right? Now then we have surgery, where there are many surgical procedures which are done, which are necessary for obstructive sleep apnea. If there is any tonsil or adenoid, then you should remove them, that is you can do tonsillectomy or adenoidectomy. If there is any DNC or nasal obstruction, in such cases we should do the nasal surgery. Now, but what is important here is, in most of the cases who are suffering from snoring or obstructive sleep apnea, we do uvulopalatoplasty is done. Uvulopalatoplasty is done in most of the patients suffering from snoring and obstructive sleep apnea. 80% of them get relieved by this uvulopalatoplasty, right? And then we can also do advancement. This is the most common procedure which is done, is uvulopalatoplasty. We can also do advancement genioplasty with hyoid suspension. Genioplasty with hyoid suspension can also be done in some patients. This is mainly done where the main problem of obstructive sleep apnea is present in the base of the tongue. That means patients with either retrognathia or micrognathia or problems in the base of the tongue are can get relief with this advancement genioplasty with hyoid suspension. You do not need to go into the details of the procedure. Next we have tongue based radiofrequency. This tongue based radiofrequency, if you give this radiofrequency in almost 4 or 5 sittings, you can decrease the size of the tongue. How does it decrease the size of the tongue? This radiofrequency waves will cause coagulation of proteins and tissues present in the tongue, resulting in scarring of the tongue and thus reduce the size of the tongue. Then the last procedure which can also be done here is maxillomandibular advancement osteotomy. Maxillomandibular advancement osteotomy. Osteotomies are performed on mandibular ramus and maxilla. This osteotomy of maxilla is like Lefort 1 procedure, though you do not need to remember it. Whenever there is maxilla and mandibular issues, we can do this maxillomandibular advancement osteotomy. So these are the surgeries which are done for obstructive sleep apnea. Thank you for watching my lecture. Thank you.